generator friends, and welcome to your reading for the week of September 16th, 2024. But know that if you are crossing paths with this video at a later date, that you are definitely still in the right place. As with all readings, take what serves you well and put the rest in the chuck it bucket. One of the most fascinating things about being human is that we have free will choice. So no matter what messages Spirit has for us today, know that you have the power to change them. All right, so I am very inspired by the supermoon eclipse this week. So to start, I will pull a Moonology Oracle card, followed by a Moonology Manifestation card, and then we will pull at least 3 cards from the tarot. And this week we are going to do Strength, Weakness, and Advice. All right, so let's get going, generators, and see what guidance the moon has for us this week. And it is mutable moon, nothing is set in stone. And that is wonderful advice for our generators, because sometimes generators, because they're so good at generating and doing things and doing, you tend to be like, well, this is my path and I'm going to stick to it. I'll stay in my lane. There can be some staying in your lane, like there's some comfort in that for generators. But know that the moon is saying this week that nothing is set in stone. Okay. And then we have our manifestation cards. So how can generators best manifest this week? And well, this was in the manifestor reading, so interesting. So there is a little tension out there this week, and I believe that to be true with what's happening with the planets. I am not an astrologer. I have a moderate knowledge of astrology. I'm definitely more of a human design person, but I love it and I think it's great. But I remember listening to something a couple of days ago that, like, right now we are in a time where things can be a little unsettled. And so the advice for this is, we've got our full moon in Scorpio that says breathe through the tension. So any type of conflict, tension, you're being called to come back to the breath. So there is that. And then also to remember, like, sometimes we just need to remember that everything is temporary. The only things that are constant in life actually are change, death, and taxes. So, but sometimes we think that, we have these visions for ourselves, and then when things don't work out, it feels like, but we should be like, oh, but this was set in stone. And actually, no, it isn't, right? So if there's any tension this week, we're being called to breathe through it. But let's see what the tarot has to say. So again, strength, weakness, and advice. Okay, so strength for our generators this week is the Queen of Wands. Oh, she's lovely. She is bold. She is assertive. She is dynamic. And as a weakness, we have the Two of Wands, which is about contemplation, even pre-contemplation. It's about really kind of like not taking action, which is interesting. And a advice is the Hermit. Ooh, introspection. He's our seeker of internal wisdom. Okay, so let's get going here, generators. Okay, so as a strength, we have the Queen of Wands. She has a lot of, now remember this is an energy, it's not a gender, right? So, but I will refer to her as a she. Okay, so she is a woman of action. She is bold. She is dynamic. So these are strengths that you have, generator. Okay, so you have, she knows what she wants and she's not afraid to go get it. She's also errs on the side of humor. She's very, so if this is you, which I'm getting very much that this is you, generator, she is very personable. She's a good leader. She's a good public speaker. She can be like a little demanding. And look, she's the only queen that's got a little kitty cat there. So she's also got that kind of vibe. But queens are always nurturers, right? So we want to also take a look at what are your passions and how can you nurture them? But this is a strength, right? Like she's a go-getter, and this is a strength that you have. But it's really important that when you're setting goals, that you don't have to be like super concrete about them, right? Like accept that perhaps like you don't know everything, right? And you want to set your goals, but be open to them being better than you can even think up. Because when we have that universal energy flowing through us, which we can do it lots of ways, but probably the simplest is meditation, right? When we have that, knowing that like the things are temporary, and when we take action on them, they're not necessarily going to unfold the way that we wanted to, or that the way that we plan out, right? Like we can make a million plans, but if the universe has other ideas, it's not going to happen. But know that source is always working in your best favor. So as long as we trust that. Okay, so in terms of a weakness, perhaps sometimes we spend too much time in this zone. Okay, so with the Two of Wands, we're not quite like the Ace of Wands is about getting that, putting energy into something. The Two of Wands is like taking a step back and thinking about what we want to do. So they tend to think too much here, right? So twos are about choices, right? So we've got this or that, but it doesn't have to be like that. We don't like this or that thinking. That's actually Two of Swords. But there's all this opportunity, right? There's this, like we're getting ready to embark on something, but we're not taking those steps. So that is indeed a weakness this week, where you're like thinking about something, but we're not taking the steps. Now, sometimes this is a strength, but it's showing up here as a weakness. So it's something that's getting in the way of what you want, is that this kind of staying in what I call contemplation mode. So in order to take that next step, which is to embark on the journey of this, we need to kind of step out of there. So a weakness is this week for you is spending too much time not doing anything, right? Like just like let's take a step. If you've got like a project underway, right? If you got a project underway, like that's great. Let's take a step. You don't have to finish it this week, although you probably could, generator, if you liked it, right? Because you'd have enough energy, right? Of course, generators, when you're doing something that you love and that lights you up, like you can do it all day long, energy, and that's good, but you actually have to take that stop thinking about it, right? So, okay, so that's a weakness this week, but I mean, with this queen energy of who you really are, I mean, hot damn, you can do everything. It's just that you just need to actually do this. Now, if there's something holding you back, like if you're feeling tense about it, like maybe you feel nervous, okay? So tension can be between two beings or three or systems, or a lot of tension can exist, but it can also exist within us. So you're feeling nervous about taking this step. That's okay, right? Just remember that it might not turn out exactly the way you do, but just like life, like we don't know how it's going to end up. If we did, it'd be super boring, right? Like people don't like it when their lives are seemingly planned out for them. Like, again, this isn't like the 18th, 19th century where people were like, okay, well, you're going to be a butcher, or you're going to, mom and dad are going to pick your partner, and then you're going to go and they want you to become a doctor. I know this is still depending on what culture you're in, this is still kind of a thing, but not where I live. So we're going to move forward. But it's like people don't want to have their lives planned out for them because it feels very boring, right? Like why would we not want to be delighted and surprised by what happens? So generator, we need to embrace the fact that things might turn out differently, but we still want to follow those breadcrumbs. We still let's see, instead of thinking that life is a super highway with 2 lanes going this way, how about we accept that there's other roads that we can go that may be more scenic and beautiful. And the advice here is the Hermit, which is this inner reflection. It's time to spend a little time alone reflecting and going the Hermit knows that all the answers are within us. And it wasn't even until very recently that was cemented for me. That was that was set in stone, right? But that's a belief. I want to keep going. But if I believe that it's that's set in stone, then there's no room for expansion, right? Like there's no room for growth. So the Hermit. So it's time to go within. And our advice about maybe taking this next step is to go within to find it. Like as a generator, you love to have, it's so important that you have something to respond to, right? But we can also respond to ourselves. But you're being called to respond to your higher self here and not your ego when it comes to taking this step in whatever project, in whatever thing that you're thinking about doing, right? That you know you can do deep down, because she's like, heck yes, you can do it, right? And using the qualities of the Queen of Wands, which is being bold, taking that next step, whether it's taking a class or putting that video on YouTube or learning how to do it or whatever, like taking that step towards learning whatever you want to do, and then going and back to your higher self and being like, let your higher self make the decision, okay? Do some sort of meditation where it's about decision making or whatever that next step is, so that you can release the tension that you're feeling about taking this step, right? So yes, I love this. So this is the Hermit is very much, it's your inner wisdom, but we get that from our higher self. So, maybe a meditation about trusting your higher self. That would be a really, really good one to do this week, so that you can overcome whatever's getting in the way of like taking that next step. But then again, realizing that taking that step towards a goal is important. If we don't take that step, nothing happens, right? So we take that step with full realization that it might not end up where you are, but trusting that it is the right one. Okay. That the trust generator is really, really coming in. Trusting your higher self to decide what to do next is really, really, really going to help you this week. All right. That's what I've got for you this week. I hope that you have garnered something really useful and helpful from it. And enjoy that super moon. If you live in the Pacific time zone like me, it's before bedtime. It's at 7:54 p.m. PST. I'm definitely going to set my alarm to go out and enjoy and bask in its utter beauty this week. All right. I hope to see you next week. Bye.